Public Safety meeting to order of February 17th, 2026. Clerk, we have the roll call?
Certainly. Chair Garland.
Here.
Legislator Ryan. Legislator Knapp. Legislator Block.
Here.
Legislator McCarron.
All right. That being said, first item is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, meetings are approved. Okay, so we'd like to call the meeting to order. Have the roll call.
Oh, wait.
Okay, so the first order we'd like to have informational. It will be Sheriff Toby Shelley is going to come up and join us and give us an overview. Transfer budget.
I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to meet this group and answer questions, give a little overview of the Sheriff's Office. It's not a department, it's an office, just so you know.
Thank you very much.
Used to be a department back in the 90s and it switched to an office, so you were right at one time. The Sheriff's Office has about 700 employees if you count our civilian staff. We have sworn staff and civilian staff. And the office is divided into four main groups. And the group that's the least mentioned, I'll start with, and that's our civil division. And our civil division does the civil process. It serves summonses, order protections, does weapon surrenders, things like that. And they take in poundage. If they garnish your wages, we get poundage of 5% for all the work we do. And I don't say we get it, it goes to the general fund. That's what our civil division does. It's often overlooked, but it's a large part of our operation. On a typical day, we can do about $40,000 worth of business. That's our civil division. We also have our two jails, one at Jamesville, one downtown. The downtown jail has 665 beds when it was new. Typically, we have about 600 beds available. Of a staff of about, I don't see Maureen, I think around 460, or not 460, 260. The staff is down there. Jamesville has about 450 beds available and a staff of around 90. Those are our two jails. We also have our police division. Police division has a number of subdivisions, whether it's our detectives, our evidence technicians, patrol you see on the road, our special operations, whether it's the SWAT team, the aviation unit, things like that. Those are the major divisions in the Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
Any questions on?
How are you on staffing right now? Because then we're going to have the resolution about overtime and the lateral move, so that's important.
Yeah, so staffing is always going to be a challenge. Police division, we're down about 20 members. With a 20-year retirement, you're almost always going to be down some members. It'd be hard to be fully staffed. With that staffing, we're in good shape at the moment. I think we're looking at 10 to 13 in the next academy. There's only 71 people on the current civil service list. Everybody on the county, there's 15 police agencies fighting over these 71 people. And with 71 on the list, only a third of those would even be remotely eligible anyway. So it's a challenge to try and hire. Our police division just got a really good contract from this body in the fall. We're extremely competitive with the police division pay-wise. So we're in good shape there. Where we fight along with everybody in the state is with our corrections officers. For whatever reason, people don't want those jobs like they did in the past. You know, in the past, there might be 800 people on the list. And now we might have a list of, 50. And it's a very big challenge trying to hire for corrections.
Okay. What kind of incentives, because I'm sure you know amongst yourself, you talk about it, what kind of incentives might motivate someone to join or something?
Yeah, I don't know if it's money's always an incentive, it's a motivator. More so now than when I took the job. When I took the job in 1994, I didn't ask about the pay. All I wanted to know was, are you going to hire me? And we don't have that type of motivation with today's workforce so much. But money isn't always a motivator. For example, we have quite a bit of overtime available, whether it's off-duty jobs or what have you. And a lot of times, even in the police division, people don't want the overtime, even the easy money. I don't know if they want to just sit in the basement on their cell phone or what they're up to, but that has changed, and that's across the whole workforce. And it becomes even harder when you get into our jails. Our Jamesville jail, that's a separate union from our downtown jail. They just got a good contract as well from this body in the fall. Their wages are very competitive to the surrounding jails around us. They have a very good schedule up there. The schedule we changed to 2 years ago at Jamesville is a model for the state because our overtime is fairly consistent. I know it takes this many hours overtime to run one of our jails, and the jails are expensive to run. And with Jamesville, I knew switching this schedule wouldn't change our overtime, but what it changed is our sick leave. And our sick leave at Jamesville, because of this better schedule, is way down, and that's a cost savings. So a lot of people that want to work in our jails request Jamesville because of the schedule and the pay. So those are some motivators, schedule and pay. But if you're talking like an incentive like the city of Syracuse is doing, like I'll pay you $10,000 if you work here, you'd have to try that experiment.
Okay.
You'd have to give me the money before I tried the experiment.
There you go. All right. Does anyone have any questions? No? Not, I have more, but I always like to ask if anyone has any. All right.
The downtown jail contract situation, what's going on with that?
Yeah, so that contract, where's Carl? I don't want to get in trouble. Give me the high sign if I say something I shouldn't. So the contract has gone into fact finding. Carl's got the mic. I'll let him talk about it.
Someone run a mic back.
Somebody can give them one.
So right now, we're in fact-finding. We had the fact-finding hearing. The parties have submitted their post-hearing briefs. We're expecting a report from the fact-finder sometime in the next 2 to 4 weeks. At that point, we can either accept the fact-finder's report as written, we can use it for the basis of further negotiation, or if not, if it's rejected and we can't negotiate any further, we can move it to this body for legislative imposition. As far as the details, we have an agreement. We don't discuss the details of what's going on across the table outside of that realm.
Okay. All right. Is there anything?
Answer your question, Chad?
Okay.
Yeah, dealing with the union, especially the union president for the downtown jail, has been a challenge. Read between the lines. I don't.
All right. Is there anything we can do as a legislative body as far as like civil service testing? Because it's my understanding that's periodic, right? Right. If we were able to have it more often or at need.
Yeah, generally, that test is given for our agency twice a year,
Yeah.
and a list is established.
Okay. Do you feel that's enough? Twice a year?
The challenge is getting people to sign up for these good-paying jobs or these outstanding retirements.
Okay.
I can't get in the head of someone that's, I guess, 40 years younger than me.
Okay. You and I, when we talked about it, the administrative portion of the jail, that's moving, that's being closed out. We've already heard with what they might make out of it. If they decide to create housing, all right, what's the realistic perception of having housing next to the jail? Has there been any talk about consolidating the jail in Jamesville? Anything like that?
This body voted to close Jamesville, February 9th of 2023.
Yes.
Against my wishes, so I'm not sure. Are you talking about like having a jail with housing next to it?
Yes.
Yeah, so, part of the argument, I sued this body. That's on appeal. I think everybody knows that. And one of the arguments is, does the sheriff control just the inmates, or does the sheriff control the building they're in? And that's one of the arguments that is on appeal, and I'm saying that I can't control inmates without controlling the building. Other people have a different opinion. And the real estate, the 100 acres at Jamesville, they aren't mine. They belong to this body. So if you're going to put houses next to a jail, I guess that would be up to you, because you're the one that voted to close it, not you in particular, but this group. So I did sue you, not for nothing.
And that is
So
true.
however that's going.
That is true. Okay. Any questions? No? Okay. Legislator Knapp.
Thank you. Just to clarify, I mean, there's already a lot of housing right up next to the Jamesville correctional facility, so it's not like that's something new. Also, a lot of the land that Jamesville is on, they've actually found some Native American artifacts and things like that. So, you know, there used to be a vibrant garden up there. The inmates grew a lot of their own food, things like that. They're not allowed to disrupt the soil at all anymore. So no matter what happens with the correctional facility, I don't see a lot of housing going there one way or the other.
Okay.
Yeah, part of that 100 acres is divided off of the Onondaga Nation. I think an acre and a half or something like that. They have a cemetery, the roadway to it, that's on the far southern end of the 100 acres up there.
Also, a pretty big solar panel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the
Installation
life
up there.
expectancy of the solar panels are. I don't know how long they've been there exactly.
Okay. Now, to
I
satisfy.
know Brian wanted a deputy county
Oh,
executive.
there is. Thank you. Yeah. No, it's okay. I can hear you. Yes. 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 That's what I was referring to. Good. Mm-hmm. Right, okay. Again, the only reason I asked was there was a news article, they were interviewed about that, and that also came up. Now, just to satisfy the public's curiosity because of misinformation, could you explain Onondaga County and the sheriff stance on ICE and, okay?
Yeah, sorry for misunderstanding your other question. I thought you were talking about Jamesville and you're talking about the old jail.
No, that's okay, I loved your explanation, that was pretty
Yep,
good.
so ICE, we have been working, the sheriff's office has been working with federal agencies as long as I've been around, 32 years. That's nothing unusual. What became unusual is the attention given to ICE a year ago. And I got beat up over it, made national news, and all they ever said from the beginning is, we will only follow the law in my office. And the law says I need a judicial warrant to hold someone in the jail, an order from a judge. I can't do that with an order signed by an ICE agent. That's illegal in New York State. That's DeMarco versus the people of New York. That's where that comes from, those 48-hour detainers we can't do. Then you'll hear other discussions about who's legal and who's not legal in our country, and there's two different things to look at. If you have a guy, and this is a realistic story, a guy from Jamaica picking apples down in Lafayette, and he's here for 6 months, and a local dairy farm says, hey, can you help me out for a couple months after that 6? He's here after his visa is over. He's not here as a criminal. He's here illegally, but it's not a crime for that. The crime comes in when you sneak across our border illegally in our country. That's a crime. And it's become a challenge because past administrations with the presidents have allowed a lot of people to come in illegally and then seek asylum and things like that. One thing I did say is I don't care who you are, if you're committing a crime in my county, I'm going to come after you. You can't commit crimes in Onondaga County, expect to just walk away without consequences.
All right, I appreciate that. At our last session, there was a term that was mentioned, 287. I know what it is, but it was mentioned but never explained. If you be nice enough to explain that
Yeah,
to
so there's
everybody.
two different types of 287G, and that's a federal program where local law enforcement can help federal law enforcement. For example, there's one type of 287G where our people can go online, take a course, then that will, when they finish the course and pass it, it authorizes them to sign that 48-hour detainer. But as I already explained, we can't follow 48-hour detainers because state law says we can't do that. So it's a moot point to even get involved in that part of it. The other part of 287G is you can go away to Quantico, I think for 6 weeks, don't quote me on that, for a certain period of time, and you can actually become a federal agent and arrest people like ICE is doing. But the way we operate, we arrest people based on probable cause, so I don't need to join. If you're a criminal, I build a case based on probable cause and arrest you. I don't need an agreement with the feds to do that. And if a judge orders me to arrest someone, I don't need a 287G program to go arrest them. That's a court order given to a law enforcement officer to make that arrest. So there's absolutely no reason for local law enforcement to get involved in 287G.
Thank you. And one other thing, we recently had an incident that was on Erie Boulevard. There was a lot of social outrage. Could you clarify the sheriff's pursuit policy?
Our pursuit policy is virtually unchanged, and I want to bring up the fact that our agency is not only state accredited, it's nationally accredited. And the national association is called CALIA, and they're actually an international association. And CALIA was in 2025 reviewing our policies. They specifically looked at our pursuit policy. I have a letter dated November 18th of 2025 that say all my policies, specifically the pursuit policy, meet the national standard. And what our pursuit policy says is it's totally based on the totality of the circumstances, whether or not we're going to pursue a car. 2:30 at night is different than 2:30 in the afternoon. That makes sense. The last message I want to give a bunch of criminals is you can just go through Onondaga County, blow red lights, and there's going to be no consequences. If you commit crimes in Onondaga County and the risk benefit is worth it, I'm going to arrest that criminal. Stealing of cars is a felony. It's grand larceny, as long as your car is worth more than $100, which I'm assuming most cars are now.
Okay.
So it is a felony. You are criminals. We're constantly making this risk-benefit analysis the whole time we do things. The fire department does it, the police do it. If the risk isn't worth the benefit, we're not pursuing. And we may have, it's an immediate notification to a supervisor that's on duty whether or not we're going to continue that pursuit. And the sergeant, oftentimes, when you have a young, ambitious deputy, is going to end that pursuit. And I'm getting blamed for chasing a car in Syracuse 2 weeks ago. We barely saw the taillights, and I'm not sure how that's a pursuit.
That's why I asked you, because.
Yeah,
it's
we
the spirit.
saw the transformer blown up. I'd be happy to show you. I don't know if I can without Letitia James' permission, but the car cam footage explains what I'm telling you. A car goes flying by us. We're not even close to it. A guy hits a pole. How's that my fault? How's that my people's fault?
Thank you for clarifying that.
But we're not going to let criminals run Onondaga County and tell us who's going to get pursued and who isn't.
Thank you.
That's nonsense.
We have a question from Legislator Brown.
This is more a point of clarity because I believe you have answered this at a previous notion, but even in the situations where you don't actively pursue, the drones are still following them, correct? I'm asking a question.
Depends on the scenario. If we know who's in the car, we can identify them and we can just get them later. That's the smart move. Meaning I don't have a list with me of the amount of drugs and guns we've taken off the street after pursuits. How many, I know I just put this out on Facebook today. 3 days after the pursuit on February 3rd, so on the 6th of February, we got 5 stolen cars with guess what inside? Felons, right? So we're just gonna let those people go. And what nobody's talking about, which really annoys me, I'm on the soapbox now, is all the victims that go out and don't have a car to get to work, that can't get to the doctor's appointment. Most of these cars come back trashed. They got to call their insurance company up. Their insurance company's not going to give them a rental car, not going to fix it. Oh, you have a key, I can't help you. What about the victims? And who do they victimize the most, these little criminals? Their neighbors. It's wrong. And I'm not looking the other way. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to clarify something because I think I asked this question at a prior committee meeting. I asked about car theft and the percentage, has it gone up or down? I think it was said that it went down. So is this still a high percentage of car theft in Onondaga County?
Yeah, so car thefts in 2023 peaked at a 740% increase, and they have gone down. But they're way disproportionate to where they were before raise the age and bail reform, way disproportionate. They've gone down because the public's gotten smarter, locking up their cars, not buying the Kias and Hyundais that people are stealing. The Kias and the Hyundais now are harder to steal. That's why they've gone down. It's not because the criminals desire to steal cars. They still have that desire.
Does anyone else have any other questions?
I do. Yes. It's been brought up a few times related to Micron development and some of the increased or new economic development we're going to have, that we might have some new public safety needs. How do you all identify, like when a large company comes in, how does that public safety plan get made, and what might we be expecting related to Micron and the semiconductor industry related to that?
Yeah, so my command staff and I have had discussions about Micron, because Micron's definitely going to have an effect on public safety of this county, whether it's the traffic or the crime. And we're looking forward to being involved in conversations going forward, especially where Micron has been built in other areas of our country, to see how it affected them. And see, you know, obviously we don't live in Idaho or whatever, but see what they did, adapt it to what we have going on in Onondaga County and try and get ahead of it. Because it takes at least a year to make a cop, and it's hard to make a cop when you only have 71 people on the list. And keep in mind the different stages of Micron, whether it's the building stage or the people that work in their stage, different types of people cause different types of crimes. So you get a bunch of guys that are pouring concrete, they're gonna go to a local bar and beat each other up. Maybe, maybe not. You know, my son's a Mason, so I'm not picking on any particular person, but you know, these different stages of Micron are gonna affect public safety, and we have to get ahead of it, and it's at least a 1 year or more lead time for us to get ahead of that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Then thank you for coming up and sharing, and this next time you'll see, you'll be asking us for more vehicles, right?
I'd be happy to just get the vehicles we got, but you know, thank you for our time. The sheriff's office is an extremely expensive operation. I've been asking for a meeting to explain why. You ask me, I'll give you the answer if I have it. I appreciate the time for this. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, so, all right. That being said, the next item is Agenda 1B, the 2025 Transfer Resolution. We're going to call it Lisa Dell. Thank you. Yeah, take your time, take your time.
Thank you. So the Sheriff's Office is seeking permission from your body to transfer funds from our salary line to our overtime, part-time employee wage line, and contractual expenses, all three lines we went over, but this doesn't require any additional funding. With the overtime line, the sheriff had explained how we do hire back-to-back, have back-to-back academies, and we try to hire, but people retire or people leave for other reasons, and due to, as the sheriff mentioned, the road test, 71 people took it, and under the correction and custody test, a lot of people are not taking that test. But we get the lists out, and we do our best to hire to help with that overtime. And I know the sheriff especially has tasked me and the other chiefs to watch our overtime budget and do what we can to keep that down. So all of us chiefs are diligently doing that through our command staff and ourselves keeping an eye on it. The 103, the part-time employee line, I believe we went over because we did hire a few funded positions that were vacant in the office. And on the contractual line, that's where we have people in our correctional facilities that might need mental health treatment, and whether they go to the Office of Mental Health or Office of People with Developmental Disabilities. New York State mandates our county to pay 100% of the cost, and I know Jason Dean's here, and he knows it's extremely, extremely expensive because I see those bills. And for 2027, we probably need more money in that line. I'll put that out there. But hopefully, you know, people get the help and maybe that cost will come down. I don't know. But it's so hard to predict it.
With the mental health, you said we pay 100%. Is the state reimbursing us?
No, I believe before I started here, I don't know if Jason can help with this. I believe they did, correct? Yeah. Like 50% of it, and now it's 100% by the county. And we're talking thousands of dollars.
Are we seeing an increase in mental health need?
Yes, yes, significantly, yes. And I believe more money was allocated in our budget for 2026 because of that increase. But I've been seeing the bills lately, and, well, I'm hoping we come under budget for this year, but it's something we just can't control, who needs, you know, mental health services that are in our two correctional facilities.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Then thank you. Oh, that's a second? Okay, so, yes. Well, that's quite all right. We have a second by Legislator Ryan. Okay, so all in favor? Aye? Okay, this motion passes. Resolution will be reported favorably.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So this is something I've been looking forward to for item number 2. We have the Onondaga County Volunteer Firefighters Association. All right, we're going to be joined by Mike Block, and anyone that would like to come up with them. They're going to give us an overview of what they do and how much we appreciate them. So, yeah, take your time. So this is informational. Just want to let everyone know, and I believe he's joined by Warren Darby, President Mike, who is the president, and Mike Karen, who is the former president. So, gentlemen.
Former president.
Okay.
You left it up for me.
There you go.
Thank you for having us, and we are happy to answer any of the questions because you're helpful for us to keep our mission going of training people, and it's helping our volunteer fire that we have throughout the county to do the training they need. We have just received, as you know, from the state a grant of $120,000 to replace a grant that we had 24 years ago for a trailer. Now we're updating it. It's like a car that's 24 years old. Technology's come a long way, and we are looking forward to that and the possibilities of more training, not only for the fire departments, but rather for the people, the constituents in their particular fire districts. So I have with me Mike Karan, who is past president of OCVFA and currently represents FASNY in this area as a director. And we have Mike Block, so my two Mikes. And Mike is the coordinator of that whole training and the trailer piece. So any questions that you have of where we're headed, I brought the two guys that have the answers. And that's what a president does.
Okay.
I taught him well.
There you go.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today to answer any questions that you have. Also, I want to thank you all for the support that you give to the fire service here in Onondaga County. It's very important to us, okay? As you know, we do receive funds from the county, and we use them very wisely, and we appreciate you keep giving them to us, and we do submit receipts and what have you, so you know what we're using the money for, which is training and what have you, because that is Onondaga County's mission, is to train as many people as we can, whether they're young, middle-aged, or senior citizen like myself. Mike may have a few words to say on that. He coordinates the public education trailer, has done an excellent job over the years in providing that type of service. One of the things that I was asked is, what can the legislature do more to help us? Well, we do appreciate when we have a Recruit New York and retention. It comes once a weekend in April. It's like the third weekend in April, I think, this year. And we light up the county red. The Dome has done it the last 2 years. I spoke to the county exec's office. They did some of the buildings. I don't know if they did all the buildings last year. We appreciate the county's support in doing that to bring notice to that. One of the things I think the legislatures could do towards that is when you go back to your towns, right, and you have that pancake breakfast or that chicken dinner and stuff like that, not everybody that's there supporting the fire department is a firefighter. So if you can talk to your constituents and say, hey, have you thought about joining the fire department? We would appreciate it. You never know. The best way to recruit somebody is looking them in the eye, shaking their hand, and asking them if they would consider joining, right? Ads don't always do it, public announcements on the TV, that doesn't do it. You get it from meeting people individually. And if we can pick 1 or 2 individuals in every town, that makes a difference, a huge difference. It allows us to have more people to respond to alarms and stuff, and to be able to do mutual aid to other areas that may be struggling with help, okay? So the more that the county ledge can do to make the need in the county known that we do need more volunteers, that would be a huge success. It's not always financial, you know, that you have to put money to it. It helps, and we don't mind it, and we accept it. But the main thing is doing what you can to help us recruit and retain the members that we do have, okay? And I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have, but I think Mike Block would probably like to share a few things in regards to the pub ed trailer and anything else.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. And again, thanks so much for listening to what we have to share, and look forward to interacting with anybody and everybody when it's opportune for your time to let us to come in. One of the biggest factors that we try to promote is fire safety. Fire safety for not just the children, but for the families. It's huge to hear, it's difficult to hear when you listen to the news. And recently we've had down in Rome, where a gentleman had gone back in and wasn't following basic instruction or direction, if you will, and thought he had it under control and unfortunately succumbed to the situation. It's those kind of trainings that we need to get more out there to do. And getting support from all of you back in your communities to ask for them to do things like mini community days, mini safety awareness days, things like this that happen all the time. We love doing this kind of support. Whenever we go out with our equipment and our people to do this training, we do it with the local department as well. The local people pay attention to the people they're going to come and they're going to see first. They're not going to see us when something happens. And usually when they get the call, it's probably one of the worst days of their life. So they don't need to see us reminding them that they didn't pay attention to. But the real key factor is that we need to prevent certain things. The things that we need to prevent just happened in the fire district that I support. We went on a fire alarm. A laundry room was on fire. There was a lot of smoke in the hallway and so on. And as we're approaching and going down the hall, the residents were coming out going, how come we didn't get a memo on this? What do we have to do? And these are all local residents that you would think would be paying attention to basic fire safety things. So for us to get the message out to more people, that's our goal. And your support in doing this, letting the people know that we're here, that it doesn't cost anything for them to ask us to come in to do the training, and your support to allow us to continue to do that is greatly appreciated to do that. If anybody has any questions on what we do and how we do it, love to answer it. And I'll even leave some cards for folks that want to chat later and have us come out to maybe do conversations.
Fire department, excuse me, and maybe there's volunteers that might be within the city that wouldn't mind getting involved. I know they're not within these other municipalities, but is there any draw, or has that happened at all?
We're always open to any local agencies anywhere that want to share and promote. And then sometimes the volunteers that work with us and they're paid by the city or paid by any other agency that we have within the county in there may just have a challenge that all the volunteers are fighting these days, and that's having the time to come and volunteer. Multiple families are doing multiple workloads, multiple jobs and so on, finding time to support their children in their school activities or other personal family activities. It's a challenge of time. In a lot of cases, trying to work through that and getting somebody that works for the City of Fire and that wants to come and work in a volunteer organization that's outside of it could be succumbed to that. So those are issues that are constantly on the table, and we're always open to listening to what they're willing to come in and help us with. It may not be to climb the ladder or put water on the fire. It may be to come in to help with the financial side or helping us keep the maintenance up on equipment and so on. And Mike, you had something to share?
I was going to say, too, professionals, accountants, attorneys, what have you, if they'd like to help us out, especially in the townships, that's always appreciative. But in your question, if I heard you right, you were wondering about Syracuse, if like the fire department or the police department, if they could help.
Well, I was more considering not professionals in the sense of just there's residents, within the city that may not identify as, being one of these members of the town and not have that draw to be part of the local fire department or the volunteer fire department. And there might be an untapped market there. Do you have any folks that live in the city that are not firefighters that volunteer at these departments out in the towns?
Yeah, we do in our department that I'm a part of. Yes, we do. But at every department, they have a regulation within to take outside memberships that aren't part of their local community and so on. And that's based on a percentage of membership on how many they can actually come and fill that role. So once you reach that peak of sorts, you can't really take in many others, then you have a waiting list. But yes, that can happen, and yes, we do have some members that do fit that role.
Okay. Legislator Block? Yeah, take your time. Yeah, I know, I have to fight with it too.
Always fighting with it. I was wondering if, gosh, what was I wondering? Right. So, what are the vast majority of things that get responded to? Are they actual fires? Are they more like a lift assist? What types of things, what's like the large quantity of things that you respond to?
It's a whole gamut of things, motor vehicle accidents, fires, whether it's this time of the year, chimney fires, that kind of stuff. It's getting more prevalent that EMS calls, right? And fortunately, we have quite a few responders that are trained for that. But, assist somebody that's fallen, that type of stuff. That takes time for us to get out there, respond, help them, and then get back to the station. So there's a lot of EMS calls that we respond to, but it's typically anything and everything that they call 911 for. I don't have a percentage as far as how many fires in the county or motor vehicle accidents, but yeah, it's a whole gambit of things.
Do you find that there's a reservation amongst people for participating? As in, I don't want to fight fires, but they might rather do that?
Yeah, I think Mike touched on that a little bit in that it used to be, back when I joined, you were an interior firefighter. You had to do that. And then you went exterior and what have you. Nowadays, the fire service, because we do need volunteers of all types, we're willing to accept anyone. We'll find a role for them within the fire service. If they don't want to go out there and fight fires, that's fine. We'll find something for them to do.
Thank you.
This question, Legislator Hernandez. Ladies first. No, just go right ahead.
I remember a couple of years back, you were engaging with New York State about turning some of those volunteer fire stations into more paid ones. Is that a conversation that's still taking place?
I didn't hear the whole question. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I remember a couple of years ago, I attended that breakfast, one of the breakfasts, and there was a conversation about maybe turning some of those volunteer fire stations into more paid fire stations. And there was conversations with New York State about having, funding or grant money that might support that.
So we try to have fewer paid members because it costs the taxpayers, right? If you can have a fire department that's 100% volunteers, right, that saves the state and the towns a lot of money. Unfortunately, that's not always the case, and you get some areas like Fayetteville, Manlius, that have paid chiefs, and DeWitt, they even have some paid firefighters in there, but those are much bigger towns and have such bigger budgets. Departments like Montville or Jordan or Elbridge or what have it, they don't have those kinds of budgets that they can afford that. So we are looking into finding ways to bring new people in via tax incentives through the state, okay? So in that respect, yes, we're trying to look at that. There's LoSAP programs, and again, not all towns can afford it, but there are many townships that have LoSAP, and if you're not aware of what LoSAP is, that's where a township will put so much money in kind of, not an IRA account, but something similar, an investment account.
Almost.
Like, yeah, it's not a 401k because it's taxable, except to the state. But it's a way for volunteers to get some extra bucks when they retire. And although it's been successful in some areas, it doesn't draw the young folks. It's kind of like going to work for an employer, right? And you're first starting out, you're not getting paid a lot, and so you want to see your wages go up. Retirement's a long way away, so it doesn't always attract the people that we need, the younger folks, in that respect. So we're trying to look at other ways that we can incentivize younger folks to be part of joining a volunteer fire service. Okay. Anything else you want to add on that?
No, you said it right.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank you for all that you do, too.
Yes. Legislator Knapp?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, kind of going off a few of the other questions is, these local, especially these local fire departments in the smaller towns are really kind of the everything department. Just last summer in Fabia's, we had a liquid manure truck overturn on Route 80, and of course it couldn't overturn by a field. It had to overturn right by a beautiful trout stream. Right. And, as the liquid is leaking out, you've got the firemen down in the ditch damming it up to keep it out of the creek, and they did, and then soil and water arrived and, took it over from there. But, the county has a large animal rescue program that's in conjunction with the fire departments, and they just had a rescue, I think last weekend, of a horse that was down in the mud and couldn't get out. And so, no, it's a very, very important thing, especially for our smaller towns. And yeah, there's a lot of debate going on as some of these local departments dwindle down into the single digits as far as people who can actually respond to calls. And, looking at the prospect of having a paid department is just, again, for these small towns, it's just, the property taxes would be through the roof. And so we're in a tough situation.
The one nice thing in this county, we do have mutual aid. And so when the chiefs do fill out their boxes and stuff, if your department doesn't have a lot of volunteers during the daytime, you have mutual aid coming from other areas that they may have individuals within their department that can respond. So it's a great system when used properly.
Okay.
Imagine a department that just recently closed up in central New York area.
Really?
It just closed, and the responding departments around it, again, are doing the mutual aid coming in to follow into it. The average response time to a house fire in that area is 35 minutes.
Wow.
A fire will double every 30 seconds. Think about that.
Crucial to have the
And of course, we just lost Sentinel Heights a few years ago.
Yes.
Luckily, there's some other departments closer, not like the one you talked about, but still, you hate to see it happen.
Okay.
Exactly.
You gentlemen seem rather seasoned and experienced. Well, what would you say is the median age of most of the volunteer firefighters, and what's the minimum age somebody needs to be to join?
Minimum age is 18.
Okay.
You can come in as a junior firefighter to learn the program before you become an official allowed to go into an active situation at age 14.
Right.
But the average age out there in our department especially is between 47 and 52.
Okay, that's what I was asking. When I was in high school, I mean, before all this social media and everything else, quite a few young people, wanted to do it. How many are women, would you say? How many? Yeah.
With our department itself and the local department I'm a part of, we have criteria, or we have bonding for 120 members.
Right.
We're currently at a 57-member level in there. 28 of them are active.
Right.
The other ones are partial active and so on. And we have 5 women in that group.
Good, okay, good. So does anyone else have any questions? Any more? Gentlemen?
We do accept women, trust me.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. All right. Thank you very much for coming and sharing. Look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so moving right along, everybody. We're going to move on to item 3, discussion of local law by the Deputy County Attorney, Ryan Ochtenden, regarding the biometrics data collection local law. Okay. Oh, so this will be by Legislator Hernandez. Yeah, come in. Have a seat next to me if you want.
Of course, I won't be reading the local law. But we just want to speak about and discuss a local law that we're trying to put out in our community that deals with our public safety. That's why we brought it to this committee, because the local law requires commercial establishments to notify customers of the use of biometric identification technology when entering into the store. What we have been dealing with as a caucus, and what I have been dealing with, is the enforcement part and trying to figure out how we will enforce this law. I have been also speaking with the City of Syracuse Common Councilors. This local, law has become very popular, and it started with Wegmans, and we have about 8 Wegmans in our county, but I don't want to, target Wegmans, because it's not specific to Wegmans. It's specific to commercial businesses. We discussed with the City of Syracuse Common Councilors a new change. So the state implemented legislation, and that legislation is now dealing with banning it completely. So we wanted to discuss how a banning it completely look opposed to setting fines, because the stipulations that we're having with the setting fines is who's going to collect those fines within the county? Do we have a staff member that's already collecting fines in another way that they can collect these civil fines for us, right? We're also looking at ways that if we wanted to make it criminal, meaning that we involve our sheriffs and we make it become misdemeanors. And I don't think we want to really go towards the criminal misdemeanors part, but more of being a civil law and collecting fines, or either, I feel like, why not follow New York State? Because when this legislation gets passed, we're either opting in or opting out already. And the City of Syracuse already decided, and they're speaking about it, so I don't want to bring this up, and they haven't discussed it yet, but they're speaking about maybe just following New York State's local law as far as just banning it completely, banning the use of selling the data of our public constituents when they enter these stores, these commercial residential businesses.
Okay.
I think we also discussed and call. I think we emailed you because we just wanted to figure out, is there a way that the county can have someone collect these fines for us? Or is there a position that's already doing this? I don't want to say that this is the first time that this has been done. Has this been done before, that we needed fines collected?
We don't have a position that would be dedicated to it. We'd have to review this. We'd have to develop job specifications. There'd be a lot of work involved in figuring out exactly how many staff it would take to do something like that. None of the current job descriptions would suffice.
And we do want to get this right. I know we've been in contact with the news, and this has become like one of those popular topics, but I just want to remind folks too that sometimes it takes a while to get laws passed, right? Sometimes it takes a while to get legislation passed. And we want to make sure that we do it right and correct the first time. So even if we don't get it on our agenda for March session, we will continue to work to try to figure out the enforcement part and see where New York State is going with it, see where the city of Syracuse is going with it, because as we know, today is local law day, and we won't have this written up today, but we do want to discuss ways that we can have it enforced. Because we just don't want to put this local law out and it's just out there, right? And we don't have any tooth within it to say that, okay, you didn't post it, and what are we going to do next?
Do we have any questions? Okay, then I have one. Has it been considered, because of course with the signage, right? I read that, and that's the main thing. What about people that are visually or hearing impaired? You know, not necessarily blind, but I mean, so.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another question I had too, as far as like Braille and things like that.
Right.
I know we did start speaking about our county is enriched with different languages. So we wanted to take it one step further and say we can't really tell them what to put in the signage as far as the language that they use when they post the signage, but we wanted to ask them to be respectful of the languages that we have in Onondaga County, and at the bottom of the signage to put the most relevant languages that we have, so they would be also able to read the information and know what's going on if they can't read English.
Okay, because I can understand not wanting the information sold, but someplace like Wegman, maybe, I mean, mainly that's stop loss, you know, stopping theft and things. The other thing, is there any provision in there about retaining information on minors?
So that's a good question. I do want to say, you know, with the banding part that you're dead on, right? This technology is used even at the Landmark Theater, so we might have, you know, to sit down and speak to Landmark about this. And that deals with just trying to figure out who might have weapons when they come into these local spaces too, right? And I know this technology is used at Destiny Mall to recognize, you know, offenders that keep coming into the mall and keep reoccurring with criminal activities. So there's a lot of more details that we have to, you know, kind of hash out to figure out the correct way to do this. We are depending on New York State to get it right for us, so we can kind of opt in and opt out. But we wanted just to make sure our constituents know that we are ahead of it, and we recognize that we have to protect them. So if we just started with making sure that within Onondaga County, we have our commercial businesses put signage up, allowing us to know when we do enter their commercial businesses that it is a chance that this, you know, data might be sold.
Okay.
Because, you know, sometimes it's better to, you know, just let your constituents know that you recognize a problem, you want to correct the problem, but you might not be able to totally correct the problem, and that's when we have our other elected governmental agencies, you know, to help us out.
Are we going to require a looped message, which would be very annoying? You know, hello shoppers, we have this system, you know, something like that.
You know, technology is real, right? AI, they keep coming up with new things all the time. And, you know, it started with these shopping carts, right? And you go in there, you pick up a shopping cart, it does the shopping for you. You put your information in there about what you're spending. It calculates how much you spent beforehand. And I was thinking that we need to really put the responsibilities back on our commercial businesses too, right? They need to make sure they also protect the people who shop in their stores, and they need to make sure the technology that they purchase also have these things implemented within the technology, because I did try out one of those shopping carts, and I would love when I go in there and pick up the shopping cart that I can touch some Braille, or maybe a message can come up because I might not be able to read the message on that card, on that AI technology.
Because it is a rather thin line, I would think, because it's almost like, you know, violating likeness rights, you know, when you're saving that information and also selling it. Because, again, not letting them sell the information, I would think that is the main point. Is that correct?
And that's why I think we should just retweak it and maybe go back to banning it completely, right? We don't want our data. This is not, this is a nonpartisan issue. We have constituents, we have data that we need to collect, we have privacy that we need to protect. We need to make sure that things aren't being sold, because as we know right now in the world we live in, and I remember I got a call a couple of months ago saying somebody reached out and tried to get my bank account switched out and my direct depositing switched out. So it's a scary world that we live in. A couple of our other counties have figured it out, but they have unique situations. So I know Erie County, they have a department that they have that's built into their county, right, that collects this information, and they are able to collect the fines. So because they have that person right there that can collect the fines, it makes it a lot easier for them. But they too didn't pass it right away. I know Monroe County is now looking at it, and like I said, the city of Syracuse is trying to figure out ways too. So hopefully we have enough partners in government to help us all be on the same page and figure out how we can protect our constituents by saying, just put the signage up and let us know when we walk into your space that there's a chance that our information might be breached. A soul.
All right. Are there, Legislator Knapp?
Thank you. This is a situation where, it goes back a long time, where technology is always a step or two ahead of government and legislation, et cetera. And, luckily I don't try to use those smart cards, because that's where that whole pricing comes in of, they might charge you something different than what they charge me, based on my demographic data that I put in or whatever. I don't even know what they go by. It probably runs a quick credit check on you for all I know, but yeah, no, there's a whole host of things here that it's an onion, the more you peel it back, the more you're going to find. And so, certainly understand them all wanting to, from a security standpoint, but, there's a fine line there, obviously.
There is, and thank you for that, because we do want to make sure we get it right. It feels like we're being, kind of rushed into a situation because it's so popular. So we're getting news reporters reaching out. We're now getting the city of Syracuse reaching out. But we need to also be respectful, because I know I do like to shop at Wegmans, right? I'm not going to use that cart, but I do like to shop at Wegmans. And I feel like we're targeting Wegmans, but it's for all commercial businesses.
Well, thank you very much. Are there any other questions before we let our leader go? No? Legislator Hernandez? Oh, we have a question. Okay. Well, Legislator, thank you very much, Legislator Hernandez. So, where's Nicole? Okay. So, all right. So, I'll just make a little, I'd like to just make a mention when you mentioned about somebody trying to steal your bank account information. Last Christmas, and if you're able to imagine this, everybody is there, we're all having a great time in the family. I get a call from Cottage Grove, Minnesota, their PD. They called me and they said, hey, are you so-and-so? And I said, yes. They said, we just arrested somebody known to us. This guy's got a check written out by Garland Brothers Funeral Home for $3,000. Now, this is on Christmas Day. Everything is closed. So the first thing I said, it's theft, it's fraud. Everybody in the house, they're just having a great time on Christmas. So I said, hold up. If this is in Minnesota, let me check my account. We had checks for $8,000, not all over the country. Somebody had gone in, they had hacked our account. And if you can imagine sitting there realizing that everything is closed, I can't do anything, I don't want to ruin everybody else's Christmas, and just sitting there waiting until the next day. So we were able to recoup some of the money, but that's what it is. It's brutal. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was the Royal Bank of Canada, is that all over America.
Well, again, AI is coming into all this. I just got an email last week from a woman in Lafayette that runs the local organization there, asking me for money to help tide their organization over because their treasurer, and it named the treasurer, and it was that person was actually the treasurer, is out of town, can't get out of the country, can't get a hold of them. You know, can you help us out? We'll reimburse you. And it had all the names right, positions right, and everything. And it was totally a scam.
Yep, and you feel helpless. If anybody's ever read Gulliver's Travels, Jonathan Swift has the greatest quote about fraud that I've ever read, if any of you have a chance, how fraud is the worst of all crimes. Just let you know. Oh, we are joined by our chair. So item number 4, discussion of corresponding outside boards and commissions by Chairwoman Nicole Watts.
Yes, hello, hello. Okay, so as promised in our last committee meeting, I wanted to come back on this issue of outside boards and commissions. So just as a brief reminder, the chair can put forward these folks in the session and we can all vote on them. However, I'm hopeful that we will have a more participatory process in this in terms of figuring out who might be the best fit amongst our legislators as well as from our community to sit on these really important outside boards and commissions. And so each of the outside boards and commissions have been connected to a committee, standing committee here of the legislature. And so here for the Public Safety Committee, we have a couple of them that I want to just highlight for us today. The first one is the Justice Center Oversight Committee. The appointing authority is mixed in terms of who puts them forward. We approve all of them. We have a number of different folks who have been sitting on this board. However, a lot of them have expired in their tenure, and so we need to take a look at that forthcoming. We do not have any names right now. I want to just highlight that. It's not like we have some folks who are putting forward. This is putting forward to the committee. These are some vacancies and or overdue to be filled positions that need to be given attention. So this is the Justice Center Oversight Committee. We have a number of folks whose terms, best as we can tell in our research, they have continued to serve. However, they have not had their terms renewed. And so we need to visit that to either renew their terms or to place new people on those. The second one is the Onondaga County Fire Advisory Board. Those folks are in good standing. The majority of them are set to expire on 12/31/2026, so at the end of this year. But we should be looking and preparing for who might fill those positions into the future and later on in this year in this committee. And next we have the County Jury Board. We need to fill it with, this is one that is under our supervision, and it was Legislator McCarron, so we either need to reappoint Legislator McCarron or identify who is going to be serving on the County Jury Board. I'm looking at my clerk who did a lot of this homework to make sure I'm speaking correctly. Fantastic. Thank you for all your work. And then we have the Criminal Justice Advisory Board. And that one is also, it's a mixed appointing authority. And again, we have another legislator. It was Legislator Olson was serving on it. And because Legislator Olson is no longer with us, we need to appoint a legislator to this Criminal Justice Advisory Board. Now that is more urgent because that is an actively open position, and so we want to be able to fill that soon. So I would look to the committee to put forth some names. If we are able to fill that sooner, this is an issue where we would be willing to waiver it in session if the committee has a name that you'd like to put forward. We don't have the resolution written today, so we would be able to accept names and have conversation with that individual, and if we have someone who is the right person to fill it, we can put it into resolution for March 3rd session to fill that active vacancy. So that is our update.
And you will provide us with an actual number of the vacancies that are needed?
Yes, you will be provided by this lovely document that our deputy clerk and interns worked to pull together of what each one is for and what the current people sitting on them are and what is vacant.
Thank you.
Yes.
And just to clarify, the Criminal Justice Advisory Board, typically, I don't see this in law anywhere, is the chair of public safety. So if you'd be interested, you would be the shoo-in for that.
Yes, I would be. Okay.
That was it.
Okay, is there any further old business or new business to come before us, before the committee? All right, seeing none? Oh, yes. Oh, no, they have a question about justice
Yes,
oversight.
I will try to answer. So currently, according to our research, there are the majority of these chairs. There's, for example, Marissa Joy Mims. Expiration date that we could find was 2021. We have Jeffrey Marrier, expiration 2022. John Fouge, expiration 2024. I could keep going, but I'll pause there. So we've got a lot of folks who have expired terms, and combing through minutes and otherwise, it seems as though there has not been a reappointment or a replacement that's taken place.
All right.
And so if you have names to put forward, I'll leave it to the committee chair. Do you want people to put those forward today, or would you like to collect resumes or suggestions? How would you like to proceed?
Collect. If they just want to generally give us names, that's fine, but of course, it's a lot better having the names and some information about them that we can share amongst ourselves.
Okay, excellent. So in adherence with open meetings law, we want to be careful about email correspondence about this. So if what we could do is just go ahead and email both myself and Committee Chair Garland with any resumes or names that you have, and we'll collect them all, and then we can explore who could fill any of these positions, both the immediately vacant and those that'll be open next year.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Are there any other questions? All right, that being seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn is in order? We have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Legislator Ryan. All in favor? Okay, all right, this meeting is adjourned until the next meeting, which will be announced.